Hello and welcome back to the Engerati studio here at European Utility Week. I'm joined now by Joachim from EnBW, and firstly welcome to the studio. Thanks for making the time.
Thank you.
And we were talking a little bit off air, and you're about to embark on a smart meter rollout. And one of the questions before we go on to other topics, I'd like to ask you is, are you benefiting from some of the lessons learned around the world? Is there stuff that you believe you're doing differently based on some of those learnings?
I think we try to. For instance, if it comes to telecommunication, how you connect the smart meters to your head-end systems. Unfortunately, the German government decided that we won't have a full-fledged rollout. We only have a partial rollout, so some of the benefits we now knew from other countries won't apply. On the other hand, what we've learned from other
won't apply because you physically actually can't go beyond that, or you're being confined.
We've seen that in a lot of countries, a PLC was used to
yes.
connect the meters, and it isn't feasible for us.
Right.
We see that the technology for the first few years is not applicable because, we don't have the density of meters in the field. On the other hand, what we've seen that you have to take the customer with you. Just starting the rollout without showing the customer what benefits may lay within the smart meter, it doesn't work. We've seen this in the Netherlands, I think, quite a lot, and so we say security is an issue for the customer. Inform them, take them with you as soon as possible.
And so, that's that side of things. And so, when you are looking at, take the customer with you. I mean, what's the narrative that you are building around the smart meter and engaging the customer around the fact that rollout is happening and the benefits around it? Because it seems to me that some of the old benefits that were articulated to the customer were very one-dimensional and sometimes pretty inaccurate. Like, if you have a smart meter, you will save energy. Well, not necessarily. So how did you build that communication narrative?
We're based on classical reasoning. Like, you have transparency. You might have access to other products like flexible tariffs, what we don't have at the moment in Germany, or very rarely. But it's only one part of the story. The other part is we're actively participating in the Energiewende, the energy transition. So you're playing an active role because as well the smart meter systems in Germany are not only designed to do the metering, they are also designed to do load management, demand-side management. They're proposing you a secured channel so that you can act within the house to switch on, switch off PV or any other device that is consuming energy.
So the use case for the meter is actually more advanced, in theory.
Because we don't see what we've seen maybe in Italy, that we have very low costs in the moment operating our existing infrastructure. The customer is very reliable. They are reading their meters, so there is not much cost connected to that. So we don't see a business case in implementing, let's say, automatizing the infrastructure. It doesn't work for us. There's no business case in it. So there's another reason. What we need is, with the energy transition, is also we need more transparency in the low voltage network, and the smart meter is also one of the possibilities to get this transparency.
Get the transparency, because that's one of the ironies, isn't it? Because when Germany embarked on the Energiewende, that was great, but the smart meter piece, which some people would say would go hand in glove with that, has been quite slow. So tell us a little bit about what that ecosystem looks like. I mean, I'm not going to ask you why it was slow. I would imagine there's bureaucracy involved, but just let's fast forward. We're here now. What does it look like? Who owns what? How have those pieces been put together?
Okay, on one hand, we've created a market role, which is a metering operator. This is some years already ago, to liberalize the market for metering operators. So it's an independent role with regard to the DSO. And
So again, let me, so that I can understand, completely separate from the DSO, you now have a metering operator. So
It's a market role.
it's a market role.
It's within the DSO.
Right.
We have something called the default metering operator, and still we have then metering operator who are independent companies.
And they do what? They install the meters?
They read a meter, and in general, especially because these are metering operators who work for industry companies or groups, so they will aggregate the data, will analyze the data, and might as well then do all the market's processes for them.
Okay, right, okay.
But at the moment it's only a niche market. It hasn't had that much success in the classical household area.
Right.
In the B2C business there wasn't that much successful. It's kind of approach.
Why do you think that is?
I think on one hand was the awareness. On the other hand, it was still too expensive to refurbish the infrastructure and to run the infrastructure. So the benefits the customer could have was eliminated by the costs he had.
Yeah. So the sweet spot at the moment for this newly created entity outfit is in the commercial sector, where the large energy consumers and stuff like that, where fine, I'll put this in because it enables me to save money further down the road. But when we were talking off air, you also said something else that's interesting, is that I would automatically imagine that this is all in the DSO remit. But what you're saying is in Germany, this is more in the TSO side of things. So that's quite unusual. What do you think is the thinking behind that?
I think what we see is we're going to have two worlds. Like we have the world of the standard load profiles. They still belong to the world of the DSO. But then if it comes really to smart metering, aggregate data, which I have a reading every 15 minutes, this will go directly to the TSO. I think behind that is, on one hand, balancing reasons. We have in Germany 900 DSOs, so in the future it might be much easier for market entrants to communicate with the TSO and then only for the TSOs to access data and to do balancing. I think this is one thing. On the other hand, there's an ongoing discussion in Germany as well as in Europe about the responsibility of the DSO. The DSO as a market facilitator, as the data manager of the future. I think the regulator in Germany is not really keen to have the 900 DSOs doing this. I think we would like to focus and concentrate it in the hands of the TSO.
So you think there's a long-term vision to consolidate this mass of DSOs into, I don't know how many, but fewer than 900 anyway?
I don't think there's not a tendency to consolidate them in terms of ownership but I think some of the tasks they do today, they won't do tomorrow. I think this is behind that.
Yeah.
We're talking about that the DSO of tomorrow might be limited only to the copper work, to put the lines in the ground and that it is so.
Right.
Still operating it, assuring the reliance of the network, but let's say that the more interesting work is going to the TSO.
Yeah, but where does that leave the whole balancing of the distribution grid when you've got all the behind the meter generation or behind the meter storage, for example? There are people here at this conference who are arguing that sort of flexibility and balancing should be put into the distribution network and not the transmission network. I mean, are you saying that in Germany you're building an abstraction of that and you say, all that balancing will still happen in the distribution network, but it's the TSO who's going to do it, and the DSO is just the copper guy?
Very good question. We don't have an answer to that now.
Right.
But I think there's a tendency. I think still for the balancing, the DSO will be in some way responsible, but he's getting the data to do so from TSO.
Right. Seems a bit of a roundabout way, but anyway,
Yeah.
yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Therefore, we say there is no sense to do so. Only if you do nothing else in mind. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah.
It's, there must be a plan. There must be, but there should be
A destination.
destination,
Something needs to be articulated. Where are we going with this? Yeah.
There should be, I think there's a scheme behind it.
Yeah, yeah, and sort of, going back to what you guys are doing and so on. Doesn't that, what are the sort of challenges rolling out the smart meter program in that sort of environment? I mean, because it strikes me as very different, because you're having to kind of incentivize people, and who pays for this smart meter rollout anyway? I mean, is it the end consumer? So do you have an even bigger job than, let's say, some of the utilities have in the UK to convince people like me to let this thing into my house?
I don't know. Today the law will pass maybe in the cabinet, so we don't know what is written in it actually, but the last version we had in hand, the metering operator was obliged to make a direct contract with the customer. So there wasn't the retailer anymore, which was until now in between. He was we have something called an all-inclusive contract with the retailer, has an all-inclusive contract with the customer, including network grid tariffs as well as the metering costs. And in the future, normally then the metering operator should have an individual contract with the customer, because also metering costs are quite high. We estimate them at the moment they are about 100 euros per household a year.
Okay.
And therefore, so we have only a partial rollout. It's only for households who have consuming more than, or customers who are consuming more than 6,000 kilowatt hours a year. And it is also mandatory for all people or companies who do run renewable generation facilities with a peak load of more than 7 kilowatts.
Okay, so let me understand this. So I'm in a home.
Yeah.
I don't know whether I'll hit the peak load, but I might do. Could be conceivable. So if that happens, I need to buy your service.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm in a normal house and I consume below the threshold. I don't really have to buy your service.
No.
But you may convince me to do so. And if you do, I have a separate contract with you. So I've got one contract with you and then one with the retailer. And heaven knows what the benefit would be if I were to take your service.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I hit that mandatory tipping point, and then I have to buy your service. And then if I'm buying your service, I'm going to ask a very obvious question. Why?
Because you're obliged to. The law says so.
The law says so. So it's a tax to facilitate meter rollouts.
You can say so.
Yeah.
But it's, let's say
Do you have any idea what the grand plan is? I mean, where do you think this is going? Why has this been done in that way? I mean, someone must have thought about this.
Yeah. I think there was a cost-benefit analysis. It said, okay, the 100 euros, if you do in a household whose consumption more than 6,000 kilowatt hours, you have also a certain amount of flexibility.
Right.
And with a smart meter, you can sell this flexibility. Therefore, we need, even in a low voltage area, kind of a flexibility market.
Right, so what they're saying is that at that level, you can probably get back your 100 and then some. If you dip below that level, chances are slim, so let's not bother. But you might, but that'll be your choice.
That's
yeah.
Because we say the cost-benefit analysis, and I agree with that, estimates that if you have 6,000 kilowatt hours, if you have 10% of your load, you might shift.
Yeah.
And then you have reduced, if you're using this kind of scheme, you have reduced the network tariffs as well, the benefit of variable or flexible tariffs, where you can then participate or benefit from the variation in the wholesale market.
Well, that's brilliant. It's novel. It's different, and it could work. But I think there probably. I mean, you mentioned there are probably a few other pieces of the jigsaw that need to fall into place to make it work. I wanted to thank you for taking the time to talk to us today. We're coming at the end of our thing. I enjoyed it very much. I feel like we need to do a follow-up, but we haven't got the time to do it today. So we'll connect with you offline. Thank you very much for watching. This is about another Engerati interview at European Utility Week. Thanks again.